Okay, TikTok is obviously consuming a lot of time and focus on people over the weekend. Let me say this. The Chinese Communist Party, the issue here is the Chinese ownership of this, and you just have to have faith in President Trump. He's going to figure out some deal, I think, to keep this going, because it has been a tool for small business that's good. I think on cultural side it's been awful, and I think the restrictions that the Chinese put in with their old people have to be put in there, because it's a very powerful instrument, very powerful, maybe too powerful for the human mind. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Here's what I do know. President Trump is going to work out a deal, and we just have to take time. It's been banned today. Supreme Court kicks in. I think President Trump will give it some sort of stay of execution, should we say, for tomorrow. I don't know, but just knowing how President Trump thinks. And I think he'll figure out a deal to get it under American ownership. And the ownership has to be even the algorithm, but they'll fight that out. That's all what deals are. President Trump's pretty good about making deals, right? He understands transactions, understands how to have win-win. Should I say that? That's a Chinese Communist Party saying. But President Trump will get this sorted. So the folks on Twitter or TikTok, I wouldn't have a full meltdown. President Trump's quite supportive of keeping it going. He's not supportive, as he has been, of this thing as in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party, which is not good. Can I get my clock there? Thanks. I have to know where I am, otherwise I will wander. John Yep's up. John Yep, we've set a notice out of the. Let me take it another way. Of the 50 executive orders that are going to be first out of the box on Monday afternoon, a lot of those are dealing with unwinding what Biden did to unwind the goodness that Trump did on day one. There are going to be new executive orders. And you've got Homan, who's been empowered as the czar, and Miller right in back of him. And President Trump, they've already put on notice. I still can't figure out if that was a leak from the Trump guys or a leak from the administrative state. It might have been a little of both. But anyway, we know now from the Wall Street Journal that there is planned to be a big raid in Chicago to have a throwdown with the mayor to start taking illegal criminal aliens and getting them out of here, send them home to wherever that is, not the United States of America. In all of this, Rachel Maddow tells us last night what they're going to do. They're going to have the cameras down there, and, Trump's setting up camps, and Trump's doing this. They're trying to take the moral high ground. In the middle of this fight, when you've got these religious organizations, I'm a Catholic, John Yep's a Catholic. You've got these religious organizations, whether it's the Lutheran Church, they got this Jewish group, but most importantly, you got Catholic Charities, which have been terrible in this. And I've called the bishops out now for years. Dolan and I got into it when I was President Trump's chief strategist, to tell them, hey, I got the Catholic Church's business model here. They can't fill the pews. They can't fill the churches with traditional or normal Catholics because of all the scandals that happen and how progressive they've gotten. So they fill them up with illegal aliens. Okay? I'm not making a value judgment about the Catholics that happen to come here illegally. I'm not. It's not their fault. They're essentially invited here by the business interests in the government. But now we've got the current occupant of the chair of St. Peter has decreed that he's appointed, I don't know, the most in-your-face cardinal out there for open borders and for anti-deportation. We should assume the Catholic Church, or the radical part of the Catholic Church, the liberal part of the Catholic Church, having been a main part of the auxiliary forces that allowed this and exacerbated this invasion, because that's the brutal truth, is now going to try to take the moral high ground by saying President Trump is a bad guy and the people around him are bad guys. They're nativists, they're racists, they're xenophobes. Need I go on? John Yep, what's the counter to that?
I'm so glad you went right there. To all the non-Catholics watching out this piece, apologies. It is a grave scandal. Catholics for Catholics, the group that we run, the number one feedback we get from across the country is, love what you guys are doing, but what the heck is up with your Catholic charities? And let me tell you, you're right, Steve. His Holiness Pope Francis named Cardinal McElroy to the See of Washington, D.C., perhaps the most important see in the nation to be bishop of, where it really, it influences the federal policy in a way that no other place does. And let me just shell that moral high ground that they're trying to take here with artillery shells. Cardinal Robert McElroy, let's start with the basics. You have covered up for a number of sexual predators. Rachel Mastrogiacomo, who wrote a letter to the papal nuncio on September 30th, 2024, prior to your nomination, informing Pope Francis that you covered up. We know that. The rest of the world knows that, and we're not letting that go. So you dare to come at us on your first press conference after being named the Archbishop of D.C., and you're going to say that mass deportations is incompatible with Catholic teaching? I think not. You know what's incompatible is hypocrisy. And we, the Catholic people, that's 58% of those who voted for MAGA and Trump, we're not letting you go on this one. And Steve, you mentioned Chicago, Archdiocese of Chicago. Let the battle begin there. You know, it was Zupich and Theodore McCarrick who named McElroy to be bishop as well. And don't forget, mind you, the Archdiocese also is the one that was cutting paychecks to President Barack Obama way back when and got him started.
Amen.
So we know it's going to start there, but Catholic and the teaching of Jesus Christ.
Give me the give me the second. Hang on. Give me the second name you mentioned, the name after Zupich, because this is the guy that demanded he come see Trump in the first as the official representative. He wasn't. Who was the cardinal? Who was the cardinal at the time?
Theodore McCarrick
besides
is the one that named Cardinal McElroy to be a bishop. He's the one that orchestrated that. How do we know that? Because McElroy admitted that. And let me go to a geopolitical saying here, okay? This isn't just some squabble among Catholics. Cardinal McCarrick is the one that orchestrated the Vatican-China Accord, which not only sold out the Catholic Church in China, but used the power of the Catholic Church to cooperate with the CCP. We will not forget that. And we stand here and we're going to fight for our country and for our faith in this regard.
Yep. Here's the problem with it. And I went to Rome at the time there was that pedophile conference, and the bigger deal was the announcement of the secret deal with the Chinese Communist Party. Essentially turned the Catholic Church, the underground Catholic Church, was one of the most robust, vibrant parts of the Catholic Church in the world, over to the Chinese Communist Party. And McCarrick, who's no longer a cardinal, McCarrick is Mr. McCarrick. Why has he been laicized? Why was he been laicized and out of some old person's home out in Nebraska somewhere? Why did that happen, John? Yep.
Getting paid by Catholic funds still, mind you, is because he abused hundreds and hundreds of seminarians, okay? That's one thing. But what he did also in the geopolitical...
Let's get it on the table. He's sexually abused. He's a sexual predator. He's an insane criminal sexual predator of young men. Is he not, sir?
That is absolutely correct, okay? And I've seen the worst of Mother Church. And you may be thinking, why is Steve and John still Catholic? Look, I get it. As you mentioned earlier, Steve, for these are the times that try men's souls. These are the times that try Catholic souls. But we will not shrink from the service of our church and our country in this moment of crisis, because it is a scandal, and we apologize.
This is the power of Yep, and it had the folks out there at Chavez Ravine, right, standing down the drag queen for the story hour in front of Dodgers, and dressed as nuns. Are you kidding me? And by the way, how many people showed up? 10. Yep, we'll get in the streets and bring people in the streets. And let's be brutally frank. McElroy is a creation of McCarrick, and McCarrick is a devil. I'm not saying this. Courts of law said this. Even the Catholic Church, eventually, all his buddies, he was the Pope of America. And McCarrick is the guy in back of that deal with the Chinese Communist Party. Now, far be it from me to say that there's any connection or blackmail potential about McCarrick's issues. Do you think the Chinese Communist Party intelligence services might have known something about McCarrick? You think, they're only one of the best in the world. Do you think there was anything known about McCarrick by the Chinese, the way they play? Those brothers roll hard. They play smash mouth. We've signed a deal to sell out Catholic Lao Beijing in China by McCarrick. McElroy's going to be here in Trump's face next week, all high and mighty, all taking the moral high ground. He is a creation of McCarrick. Do I see some pattern recognition here? This thing's corrupt, and it's got to be broken apart. We cannot go on like this. And the part of the church has to be confronted. And where you confront it, the angle of attack is in Catholic charities. And let me say this again. There must be a massive investigation in front of the American people with all the evidence out there of exactly how the country was invaded by 12 or 15 million. Good God in heaven. Do you think the people died at Guadalcanal and the people died at Pearl Harbor and the people died at Normandy? What would they say? They gave their lives for this country overseas to defend it. What would they say that you allowed 15 million illegal alien invaders to invade our country and you're just going to sit there and take it and understand that the Catholic Church's charity was part of it and the Lutheran Church charity was part of it and this Jewish organization was part of it? You think President Trump is going to give a speech on Monday about unity and bringing the American people together, and God bless him. He's president of the United States and all the citizens of the United States. And he has a duty and an obligation to do that. But this fight is going to get nasty, and it's going to get nasty quickly. And it's going to determine whether we're going to see this thing through. Whether we're going to see this thing through to its ultimate conclusion. They all got to go. An investigation has to happen of how it happened, who did it, who benefited from it, who was in back of it. And the current occupant of the See of St. Peter better understand you guys are up to your neck in it. John, I'll let you have the closing comments on this since you've triggered me, sir.
I'm so grateful that you're bringing this to attention, Steve. And I wish some of these bishops, whatever happened in that prison cell there in Connecticut, I mean, you had a spiritual experience. I'd love that maybe they could do a retreat there, right? Because you came out just a different, totally renewed warrior, right, for the cause. And look, people will ask, how did we get here? In essence, the Catholic Church, we've sold our charity, our birthright, and we become a government NGO. We're actually producing a book later this month specifically on that, outlining how we've become an NGO of the federal government. And that can't be. We need to free the church so she can be faithful to the mission that she was destined by Christ to do. And Cardinal McElroy, we will not let you off the hook. Tom Homan, a good Catholic man and a dear friend, a man who clutches the rosary like many of us Catholics who pray for President Trump every single day. We have his back, and we are going to support those people who came here lawfully and legally, like my dear wife and her family from Ireland. Thank you again, Steve.
Where do people go and find you on all the great work you do in Catholics for Catholic?
Catholics for Catholics, CFORC.com. That's where you get the latest updates, and we're going to be right there in D.C. praying and standing with President Trump as he takes the oath of office.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All the work you do.
Thank you, Steve.